All right, so let's begin by talking about homework number 2. If you have any questions about the symbolizations. So it really had two parts, symbolizations, and then we also had a couple of proofs that you needed to do. All right. I don't know if I saw any really common issues, except C was difficult for a lot of people. So problem C. Let's see what else. Yeah, that was probably the main one. And then regarding proofs, generally the proofs either did well in the proofs or not at all. The only, well, we can talk about that, but forgetting to use DN on the proofs. So I could talk about that. Don't forget to use DN. So that, for those, there are people who totally did proofs correctly except for DN. But that's a good sign, because that's just a small thing. It's not a big deal. It means you generally know how to do proofs, at least so far. So just don't forget to use DN there, because I'll take a point off for that. Okay? Any questions about the symbolizations? There's a couple things. Emberly.
In 1B.
1B, okay.
On the answers you said S and not T, but I put S and T.
It should be N, not T.
But it wasn't marked wrong.
Then there was a mistake on my part. You want me to go and mark it wrong?
Yeah, well, I guess because I thought like the phrase "not until" doesn't really negate whether or not they took the whales, but it just changes the time that it happened at.
Did not take any until.
Until.
Let's see. You're overthinking it. It's take until. So the property is like take until, and you're negating that. You're negating.
I guess like take until doesn't really make sense on its own.
Take until. I guess it. I guess I don't. Did not. So if it's. You don't want to get into the exact meaning of every phrase. You don't want to do that. You're basically looking for the logical form. And I don't see how that's not a negation. Because otherwise you would have just put T. So what's the difference between S and T and S and not T? So take that. So take that same sentence and get rid of the not. You would have said S and T, right? And then yet did take until. I know. Now I see what you're saying.
It's saying they did take whales on the first of May.
Well, that doesn't. Did not take any. I guess it implies that they did take some. Did not take any. Ooh, that's interesting. Huh. I know what you. I know. Okay. Oh. Okay. I guess I don't want. I generally, what we're trying to do is look for a logical form. I don't want you to overthink the meaning of each of these, and just if there's a negation, you put the negation in. But I do know what you mean in terms sometimes the not does not mean a negation. So let me think about that one. So right now I didn't take up, right? I didn't take off point anyways. So you're good to go either way. But let me think about that. Whether I should give credit for SNT, okay, to others, because were they thinking the same thing you were thinking? So it's really hard for me to grade that one. what this tells me is that maybe the question wasn't a good one, but I have to think about that further. Okay, just not right now on live. Right now, I'm trying to figure out whether that's a good one or not. Okay, let me think about it further. Okay, so that is B. Does anybody else want to have a comment about B? Do you understand what Emberly's getting at? I think I do understand what you're getting at, but I'm just wondering whether I should agree with you. I'm not 100% sure yet. Zoe, you had a question.
Yeah, so I did the online version, so I'm not really quite sure because this is different. But,
Yeah. Well, you can read it out.
Okay.
For which one, A or B?
This is on E.
Oh, E. Okay, you can read out E.
So the online one says if you do not roll the water cask into the galley, then you wake up. You will not eat a biscuit, and I'm kind of confused because the paper version doesn't have the negation part of it. So
Right.
when I did it, I said not C arrow parentheses W not B.
But W arrow, not B.
Oh, I see.
Okay. You got to make sure that every formula you write is a well-formed formula. So this is helpful because you weren't the only one to make this error. So you did it this way. You had a not C, arrow, and then a W, and then you wrote not B. Like that. So this is ungrammatical in our system. You have to have an operator right there. So you forgot the arrow. Okay? The paper version didn't have the negation in some errors. But generally it's pretty close. Yeah, Zoe.
And then also for D, the paper or the online version was a little different as well. It said you should wake up if you want some salt pork.
Yeah.
I was confused why the S and the W were switched. I had W arrow S, not S arrow W.
If on its own, or provided that on its own, both point to sufficient conditions.
Okay.
So if you were going to rewrite it, sometimes it's helpful to rewrite it. If you want some salt pork, then you should wake up.
So like one relies on the other, so it
Yeah.
can be switched.
So you switch on.
Okay.
So in other words, if you have something like W, this is kind of a mixture here, W if S, in reality, it should be switched. If S, then W. Isn't it the same thing? See, the if, it just switched over. The if functions like a provided that. So W provided that. S is the same thing as if S, then W. Okay, Nate.
So going back to B and what Everly was bringing up, could you almost say that it was a conditional by saying like, if it's not the 1st of May, you did not take any?
No, it's not a conditional. So there's a huge difference between, so if it was a conditional, it would be like this form, S arrow T or S arrow not T. Again, this says, let's look at the first phrase. We saw a number of sperm whales in the southern hemisphere. The author there is saying S is true. S is definitely true. We saw sperm whales in the southern hemisphere. S is true. But if you do S arrow T, you're not saying S is true. You're just saying if we saw sperm whales. So this is definitely not a conditional statement.
I guess I meant just like for sort of the second part of it, if we were to take like take and may. So like if you're taking what you're taking specifically in May. I guess I was asking. But
No, you're breaking that apart. I've kind of simplified it by capitalizing one word there to tell you that there's really just one statement there.
Okay.
Now, if I had capitalized like may, or something like, then you would have gone, whoa, and then maybe there's some conditional thing happening there. but I only capitalize the take. I'm trying to simplify things a little bit. Otherwise, yeah, you could bring in a capital M or something. Yeah. Yeah. So really watch the difference between these two. Okay. What is the author saying? The author's saying S is true. Yeah. Yeah. Emberly, I do want to say one thing about this. Is that since I'm seeking, I don't want you to be engaged in a really careful extraction of meaning. It shouldn't matter if you even understand this, actually. I want you to, you can totally just contact me about it. Go like, hey, I think something's up with this one. This is kind of, if you're thinking it was weird. But if you weren't thinking it's weird, that's a different thing. But if you're thinking it's a little weird, it was difficult in that sense, then just contact me and we could talk about it. Or I could fix, I could change it too, try to make it simpler too. Because I don't want to be tricky. So if something feels really tricky, like you think you understand the material and you're like, this is still tricky, even though I'm pretty good at symbolizing, contact me about that. Okay. Because yeah, I could have made it more difficult than it needs to be, or something like that. So, my bad on that part. You know what I mean? Nevertheless, I'm gonna think about that. What I'm gonna do with that particular one. Maybe rewrite it for future homeworks.
Yeah, because I think just the phrase like "not until" is usually used to like say something, just to say when something happens.
When's gonna happen? Yeah. So the not there is misleading. Yeah. Because I've already said in the class, was it last week or something like that, that sometimes just because there's a word not doesn't always mean negation. So I've opened myself up to that, right? I don't think the book says that really. Maybe the book does. But sometimes it can be a little tricky. But I don't see the thing is I don't want it to be tricky. I don't want you to worry. Kind of worry about the exact meaning of things, because think about that. B is not a friend to someone whose first language is not English. Do you know what I mean? So I've made B like brutal. If let me think about it further though. Yeah, Marcus.
So this is for G, which
G.
is you waking up implies either you smelled the coffee or that the thing had gone far in the fridge.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm reading too much into the meaning of it, but I kind of thought that you waking up temporally had to happen first, which meant that, or had to happen last because you woke up to one of those two things.
Oh, you can't. Okay, that is something you cannot do.
Okay.
Because people make mistakes. They might have uttered something false. You're trying to make it true in order to symbolize it. That is something you do not want to do. You don't want to make it true and symbolize it. In other words, symbolize it to make it true. You want to go after what the author is on the surface saying. Okay? And then you evaluate its truth after you identify its structure or its form. That's what we're doing in this class, actually. We're not trying to make what people say true. I mean, that's charity. Yeah, that's like charity gone too far. Okay? You should be able to, the idea is that you should be able to kind of not even, maybe even judge the truth and still be able to figure out the logical form. Like, what if I said, you schmaking up implies that you either smelled the schmoffy or that, or I don't know, or that you schmelted the coffee. I could really make it so you have no idea what I'm talking about.
Right.
That one.
So I just should have read the implies.
The implies, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There is. If you have circle implies square, that's just always going to be circle arrow square.
Okay.
Now, here you are kind of assuming that the author is using implies in kind of a normal sense. we are making some assumptions about the author. Yeah, so that one, I mean, that whole section is based off of, there's a page in the text, there's a page 56 or something, that goes through just different ways to express an arrow in English. So implies it's just one of those. Okay, don't forget parentheses. So make sure every formula you give is a well-formed formula. Don't forget parentheses. That's pretty huge. Okay, I saw that a few times. Zoe.
For H, between
Wait, let's see. Are we ready to go? Oh, that is part of the symbolization. Okay, so yeah, what's up with that one?
So between B and C, why is it not the disjunction, the or symbol? Why is it
Wait. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Oh, shoot. That's the mix-up between the other homework assignment and this one. So I knew this was going to happen. It's hard to do, like in a way, I'm kind of doing an online class and a now in-person class, and any discrepancy becomes a pain. So let me give you the right answer to that one. H. If you eat your peas, so that's P. Arrow. And so what do you want to say for that one, Zoe?
what do you? I got it, or I see why I got it wrong. I had the order wrong, but I did put a disjunction between C and B, because it says biscuit or cod.
I'm going to give you full credit for that. I was thinking of the other assignment. So P, arrow, and then it should be B or C, technically.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So that's the right answer. If you think I misgraded you because of this discrepancy between online and this, let me know and I can fix it. If you did C or B, I'll give you credit. That's not a big deal, logically speaking. I don't really care about that. It's your decision on that part, on your part there. It's good to get in the habit of following what the text gives you, but it's not a huge deal. So the correct answer for H is that. I just didn't fix. Yeah, I was looking at the answers for the previous assignment. And I was trying to change everything, so hopefully I changed the proofs correctly too. So we'll see about that. Okay. There we go for H. Okay, Winston.
I'm just wondering what the correct answer was for A.
A. Okay, let me just make sure you had the right version. I decided to sail about a little and see both the watery part of the world as well as experience the sailor's life.
Yeah.
Okay? And so the right answer, did you get the homework number 2 answers?
I didn't realize that was the answer.
Yeah. So S, so one way to do it is S and then in parentheses W and L. Alternatively, you could do in parentheses S and W, in parentheses and L.
Yeah, so I just didn't put the parentheses. I see.
Okay. It's not a big deal, but you need to get into the habit of parentheses. Okay, it's going to cause a problem if you don't. Not so much in this one, but later on it will. C, there were a lot of errors. Do you see the correct answer there for C? The idea here is that I never go to C as any of those things. So you got to have not. There's 2 different ways of doing it right here. One is a complex conjunction, not P and not C. Sorry. Not P and not E and not C and not G. Or you can do a negation of the whole disjunction, neither P nor E nor C nor G. So, or you can do a mix of the 2. So if you don't know where yours went wrong, ask me and I can tell you where those went wrong. Or like, how did I get it right, or something. You know. Any? Yeah.
For C, could you do like not and then parentheses P or E without all the parentheses in between? Just like make it one parentheses not and then.
Well, I didn't take points off for that one. So let me see if. So do you mean like this?
Yeah, and not.
Yeah, I didn't take points off for this. I don't think I didn't try to, but I did say in the future, make sure you use parentheses because right now this is not a well-formed formula. You want to make sure that it goes like this. I think that's right, something like that.
You only have two on the.
Yeah, in your answer you're missing one.
Let's see. So
Well,
one here.
At least on your.
Let's see right here, here. What do you mean I don't have?
Oh, that's on the answer sheet.
On the actual sheet.
Oh, on the answer sheet?
You only have two at the end, so it's fine.
Okay, let me see. Oh, I see. Yeah, so, yeah, then add another one there. Thanks. Fix that answer sheet there. Not a big deal though. If you, yeah. All right, ready to look at the proofs? Again, to make sure there's no typos there, because I was switching all these letters and stuff around. So, let's see. So the answers are there, so I'm not going to rewrite those down unless you need to go through it. But in order to use MP on lines 1 and 3, you have to use double negation to get rid of those two tildes outside of F, to turn it into F. Then you get a proper use of MP. Okay? Remember, you need circle, arrow, square, and you need circle as it is. Then you'll get not G. And once you have not G, you can combine that with line 2 and get the answer not E. J also requires a use of DN. The key about J is to make sure that you're able to see modus tollens between lines 1 and 3. Because you actually, in 1 you have circle, arrow, square, then in 3 you have not square. So, and you follow modus tollens exactly, you're going to get line 4, which is a negation of not R, which is not R. Okay, not R. There is a typo. Change that R. I knew there's going to be. Line 5. So make sure there's no other mistakes here. There we go. Line 5 should be R. Line 5 should be R. I will make sure that the answers I upload to Canvas fix those typos. Okay? I knew I'd make a typo here. All right. So R is line 5, and then now you can combine 2 and 5 to get not K. The answer you want is K, so then you use DN to get you to K. All right. Homework number 3 requires you to do proofs. So it's really important to do homework number 3 that you're able to do I and J. Okay, because those are simpler proofs. Questions about I and J. I and J. It's also the kind of thing where at this point, INJ is like, should be straightforward at this point. Because you've kind of gone beyond those. That's the hope, at least, right? That's where you want to be. You're like, INJ are not an issue. Could you write a proof in that style? Like if I asked you to write a homework problem, could you do that? Invent your own? Yeah. If you could do INJ, you could probably write your own little proof. Okay. All right, so I'm going to make sure that the online version I post has no typos. Okay. So any questions about homework number 2? Final ones. Also, any questions about homework number 3? That's due on Thursday. Although it's due at 11:59, so right, you can still ask questions during Thursday class. Okay. All right. All right, so I'm gonna get things set up right here just very quickly. Slides are not ready right now, so just taking a minute. Uh-oh, it's not letting me in. Okay, let me just, give me a second here. Shoot. I have to put in a passcode, extra one. See if it worked. So we ended up last time by talking about simplification, conjunction, conjunctive syllogism, correct? I think that's where we ended. So, I want you to do a practice proof before we move on. I'm going to put it on the board right here. Let me write down our rules so far. We have NP, NT, DN, simp, conj, and CS. Let me write it down here. We have NP, MT, DN, simp, conj, let's see, CS. 6 rules so far, is that right? 6 rules. Okay. So in this particular proof right here, I want you to start working on it. See how far you get on it. And you can use any of these rules. Okay? So work on your own for a few minutes here. I will walk around, try to keep somewhat distanced. See how things are going. you have any questions? You want me to look very quickly what you're doing? Let me give you a little hint about how to start this. I've used the Lego metaphor before. If you're given like a Batmobile made out of Legos, and you're trying to make a pirate ship, okay, from the Legos, the first thing you do is take apart that Batmobile. And you might not use all the pieces, but you're probably going to use some of the pieces. Okay? So it's the first thing you do in a proof like this is see if you can take apart the premises and you can use them. It's sometimes easier to use them if you take them apart. So one of the premises here can be taken apart. You can extract the component statements. Okay, so that's the first clue. Does that help a little bit? Okay, good. I can see that there. Sasha, what did you do on that? Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, that's the extraction and extraction. This there. Okay. All right, so you're right to use this one. So on the next line, what can you do with that rule? Good. Okay. See how that go? Some of those. Okay. Wait, does that say 1 and 2 MP? Yes. Okay, what's the numbers? Wait, the numbers here don't work out.
Oh,
Does
sorry.
that say 1 and 5? Yeah. So fix that, and then, okay. Then,
Oh, it doesn't.
okay. And then if you have those two, then okay. Let's see, Ian, how does it go in here? Okay. Okay. All right, Olivia, how's it going? Okay, that's the right move to do first. What I would do, just like when you're taking apart a Batmobile, you try to take apart all the pieces. So maybe get the other piece, so to speak, bring it down as well. Okay, Olivia, how's it going? So the first thing, well, right now, since you've already broken it apart, which is great, you don't have to worry about line 1 anymore. Because now you have lines 3 and 4. Easier to work with, you don't have to worry about that. It's gone, in a sense. You don't need it. So now you have these two pieces. So line 5, yeah, you're that's overthinking there. Okay, go with the rules you have. You can't get line 5. You don't need line 5. Okay, so with these two, you're going to be able to get where you want to go. Okay, so just those two. That's all you need. All right, so let's see. Okay, Bailey, let's see. No. Deanne always adds 2 negation signs. So
Maybe
no, you don't even, there's nothing that doesn't come from anywhere. Where's the line? This is a conjunction here. So when I was saying take apart the Legos, think of this as like a Lego Batmobile. Take it apart. There's a rule that you can take apart any conjunction. So look at those rules. Which rule allows you to take apart number 1? Okay, so all right. So the idea is one of these premises you can start breaking apart. Okay, there's a rule here that allows you to break apart one of these premises, and the clue is number 1 is a conjunction. You could always take apart a conjunction. use simplification to do that. Let me write down simplification really quickly. Simplification is if you have circle and square. It's always a good idea to write down all the rules, not just the names here, but write down the forms of those rules, memorize them. Circle and square, you can break that down into circle. You can also break it down into square. Okay, so, oh, you're working on number 3. Sim. Okay. Looks good. What kind of app are you using?
This is just the notes app on
Oh, wow.
yeah,
I can do that. That's cool. Okay. Sim. Okay. And sim. There you go.